and welcome to Think About It. I'm Silvia Henderson, your host, and I invite you to tune in, take what you see and hear, and, well, think about it. So, how many of you want to be more productive? Or you think you're being productive, but you're just being busy? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And my guest, Valerie Jackson of Fierce Focus Strategies, is here to talk about that and set us straight on being productive. So Valerie, welcome to Think About It.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thanks for inviting me. I've been excited for the conversation.
All right. And you and I have talked a lot about being productive. I've joined you on a couple of your productivity sessions, which I'm sure you'll probably talk about later, about something that we can do. But most of the time, I ask my guests, first of all, rather than me go through an introduction, how in the world do you get to do what you do and it's your business?
So, I struggled with getting things done. And I had to seek out some answers that unfortunately did not exist.
Oh.
My work with productivity has been a 20-year so far journey.
Oh.
And I say so far because it's always changing and evolving. But that's how I honed in my productivity message and have created the solution that I could not find.
Wow. And so you were a busy professional. I mean, it sort of corporate-y. Yeah. And so you found that you weren't productive as a professional?
So, here's what I found out is that I started out in the corporate world, moved into being an entrepreneur. And what I found out is that I was breaking my commitments. And not intentionally. I wanted to get done the things I said I was going to get done. I just didn't have the framework to do it. I had all these competing responsibilities, and I was saying yes to too many things, like most of us, right? And I just wanted to feel better about being a woman of my word, doing what I said I was going to do.
So it sounds like for you, being productive is making and meeting commitments.
Absolutely.
Not just being busy, because we can all look productive. I worked in the corporate world too, and I look productive.
Yeah. Well, busy and productive are very different. I always talk about busy as being related to, think about the other things we use the word busy with, like busy work, being a busybody. Busy really itself has no direction. It's just kind of fluttering around. Busy as a bee is probably not fair because bees actually do know what they're doing. We just don't know their plan.
So I used to love it when, especially when you're working for yourself, and somebody calls you, especially a friend and they, "Are you busy?" And I think, yeah, but that's not always a good thing, though. Well, yeah, you can look busy, but not be productive.
Right.
So, is it natural to be, is productivity something that we can naturally be, or do we have to learn to be productive?
I believe we have to learn to be productive because society rewards us for looking busy. That's what we say. Like you said, someone calls, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm so busy." That's usually the response because it feels good. We wear busy like a badge. It's like a checked box. But at the end of the day, how do we feel about what we got done? So productivity for me, and as I've learned, it's got principles. And once we learn the principles of productivity, then we can be consistent with being productive and not just busy.
Principles. That I never heard of. That productivity has principles. Like what? Without giving away all your secrets.
Well, and there's secrets, but that's what I've been developing for the last 20 years is the principles of productivity.
Okay. So maybe one.
Okay.
Because it's not just like, oh, there's principles?
Yes,
What are they?
Yes, there are. There are 9, as I have seen it, 9 principles for productivity. So I will share with you, and I'd love to share with your audience and the people who view in because they deserve a little bit.
But later I'll say, so if you want to know more,
right?
You got to work with her. But, so yeah, give us a little teaser.
So here's one of the principles of productivity is looking at the roles you play first and understanding that those roles are what create the competing responsibilities. And many of us are in roles in our life that some of them we should have said no to.
Oh my gosh, no.
Mm-hmm.
You mean that's a full sentence?
It is absolutely a full sentence. And I hear people say all the time, I can't say no. I have a hard time saying no. And what they don't realize is they're saying no all the time to themselves.
That's interesting. Okay. Because I imagine then the busier you are, the more you say yes, the less you're taking care of you.
Absolutely. That self-care comes last all the time. In fact, I have learned to love the word selfish. It's people want to make it more gentle to say self-care. I use the word selfish, and I'm a selfish person. I enjoy being a selfish person. I have learned to become that because I am productive now. I can feel good at the end of the day. I've accomplished the things I want to accomplish and take care of myself.
Okay. So I know a lot of the people I coach, a lot of viewers probably they're the creatives. They're self-identified creatives, and creative meaning ideas galore, tons of thoughts and ideas and things to do, and squirrel. I mean, right. and then we get overwhelmed. I'm creative, and we get overwhelmed with all of the possibilities.
Yes.
How do we kind of get rid of the possibilities, or how do we narrow some of those ideas down so that we can figure out what to say no to?
So 2 things. One is we have to learn to be honest with ourselves. And these are tough conversations. We are never going to get everything on our list done. Not ever, never. Okay. So that's number 1. And when you are honest, then you can say, what are 3 things today that I not to do, but I will do? And that gives it a different feeling of ownership. So I have a will-do list, not a to-do list. And I just know there's a lot of things that are on my to-do, but my will-do is very different. That's absolute.
Okay. So being the crazy person I am, then if I got my 3 things, I go, so big things or little things?
Aha.
So how do you know? How do you know what those things are that you should do? I mean, so, okay, here's my craziness. If I have the 3 things that I will do, I kind of make sure one of them I've kind of already done.
Okay, so
I can check mark that sucker off.
Guilty. I've done that as well. I will sometimes do something and then put it on the list so I can cross it off because, you got to feel good about things. Sometimes you get a little off track. But really, we do know what the most important things we need to do are.
Okay.
And they should be things that only we can do. That's the other part.
Oh, Lord, that's another whole thing.
Right. That's a whole nother conversation. We're often doing someone else's job.
I remember when I go to these business seminars, they say, if you're the CEO, you should be doing only the things the CEO should do.
Yes.
And leave the other things to somebody else. But that's hard when you're starting out, or
It is hard.
when you're just a solo business owner, as you well know. CEO is usually Chief Everything Officer.
Right. Right. So one of the tips I'll share later is how to look at honing that in.
Okay. So, here's another thing, and going into the productivity mode. So I know there's productivity tools out there. And so I'll spend time online. Okay, which tools are there of the 50 what's this all about? So then there goes busyness again.
Yes.
How do you figure out what tools, or do we need tools to be productive?
I love that question. Tools do not make us more productive. The process and principles do. Tools are just that. They're a tool. We put too much faith into them. We're looking for answers from the thing. And it's not the what, it's the how. How do we use this?
Okay. Okay. So, so I gathered certain tools are for certain kinds of, I don't know, commitments or used in certain situations. How do you figure all that out?
So I'm going to share with you really quickly the story of the 32 blouses, the 32 black blouses. How you figure it out is you put all the like things together. So my dear mother was running late for work every day.
Okay.
I mean, every day. She'd been at her job for 30 plus years, so no one cared. But she just was late. And so she said it was because she couldn't find anything to wear in the morning, every morning. And she said to me, I just need another black blouse. She says, that goes with everything. So I got on a plane one day, flew from where I was living in Seattle at the time to LA to help her figure out this wardrobe issue. And when I went through her closet, I said, you got to put all the like things together. And when I put all of her like things together, my mother had 32 black blouses. So the problem was not having what she thought would have been the tool to help her get out the door. It's because she couldn't see it.
Okay.
Things were spread out all over. So going back to your tools, a lot of times we already have something that will help us in what we're trying to accomplish. We just don't see it because we've duplicated it so many places in being busy. We're kind of scattered all over the place. So like things together.
So that almost sounds like, she was late every day. So there's kind of a cost to being disorganized.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, there are significant costs to being busy. And they're related to our two of our most valuable resources, time and money. But the other cost is how it makes you feel. And like I was talking about that, not keeping my commitments, you can't put a dollar value on that, but your integrity is so important. And if you're noticing that being busy is costing you your integrity, if you're always making excuses, it's time to do something about it.
So being known for, she's always late. That's an integrity thing.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the fact that she's always late, or you already said the resource are time and money, we're going to need to take a break in a minute, talk about time. But when we come back, though, let's dig into that. Sounds like it's time management is related to productivity.
Oh boy, yes. I'm excited for after the break.
Okay, because the tool is our calendar, or that used to be the paper day timer. I was married to my day timer, and the multiple colors of pages, and is this an A and a B and a C? And I mean, it took I don't know how many minutes to figure out what I needed to do to be productive.
Right. To get to what you needed to do.
That's right. Using the tool. And I wasted more time trying to find that right tool. And, now it's just a simplified calendar and how I use that calendar. But yeah, we're going to talk about time management. And I'll let you say the phrase about time management when we come back.
In terms of hate crimes, I think there is so much more work to be done to make that choice to continue to love.
All right, welcome back to Think About It. I'm still Silvia Henderson, your host, and we are still talking about productivity. In fact, we're busy talking about productivity. So my guest is still Valerie Jackson of Fierce Focus. I love that word because it just speaks of productivity. Fierce Focus strategies.
Yes.
All right. When we, at the break, I kind of held on to talking about time management and how that relates to productivity. So let's launch into how do we manage our time in order to be more productive?
All right. So remember that being honest we talked about in the first segment? So here's hard news for everyone. You cannot manage time.
Uh-oh.
Time is unmanageable. You cannot manage it any more than we can manage daylight. It happens without our input. What we have to do is learn how to manage our energy and how it is associated with time, just like we do with daylight and dark.
There's a whole lot of companies out there with time management courses, man.
Yes.
So, okay, let's explore that more then.
Okay.
So we got 24 hours in a day, 7 days in the week. And, I've been to enough workshops to have heard that someone would name an inventor, they managed to be productive. I'm watching a car series right now. So, Henry Ford managed to be productive and create his Model T. And so I should be able to be as productive in my 24 hours. How do we do that?
By understanding how our energy works.
Okay.
So here's a good example. There's a study that was done at a Southern California university that showed that every time we get off track, it takes us more than 23 minutes to get back to what we were doing.
Whoa.
So that's that awareness, right? I was shocked when I figured that out because I get off track a lot. And so when you start adding that up within your day, no wonder we're not productive. It's the reason why we're needing to look and feel busy because we're not getting things done. We're going down the rabbit hole more than we realize, and then it's taking us longer to get out of it than we realize.
So that's why I'm thinking about the energy every time when I was working in an office, and somebody would, they knock on the door with one hand and open the door with the other hand. Can we talk for a few minutes? And inside, it would be that stress of I was focused on something, and now you just interrupted me. And I think we found in the last 3 years or so, depending on when people are watching this, during the pandemic, whenever there was that family member or that laundry sitting there or that thing you wanted to do instead of the work you were doing, it took a while to get back to doing it.
Absolutely. And so now what you're describing also is moving us into a conversation about personality type. Because there are some of us who love that knock on the door. Some of us do, and some don't. Some do not appreciate being interrupted. That's why it's really important to have a good awareness of who you are and how you're wired, which again speaks to productivity type and preferences.
Productivity type and preference.
Yes.
That sounds like something to explore in another program.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'd love to.
All right. Because I can think of, so that makes me think about the people that I worked with. I was in the technology field, not as a technical person. And I know that the coders who I interacted with were like heads down, dark room, coding for hours a day. And I was a trainer and a manager, and I was like a people person. So I didn't mind the interruptions. I also found that I wasn't as productive as a coder because, so that's another thing. Coders or take any technical person, their productivity is measured by the thing that they finish, what they get done. If you're in a leadership role or a people role, the productivity seems to be more based on how you've guided other people as opposed to producing a report.
Well, sort of.
Okay.
So I'm going to say this about that. You're not necessarily looking at what you got done as far as an outcome or a product, but you are looking at the outcome. So productivity still applies.
Okay.
We still have things on our to-do list that need to be on the will-do list, even when you're a leader. There are things that need to be accomplished.
Okay.
And how you get to that outcome is through the process of productivity.
Okay. So is there a tip you can give? Again, you got plenty more, but something that we can do to be more focused?
Yes. Depending on your personality type and how often you are distracted, working in smaller blocks of time definitely help. And making the commitment to not allow interruption during those blocks of time.
So I used to think in the corporate office, how can I train other people to stop bothering me and stop interrupting me, or only interrupting me at a certain point in time? Can you train other people?
Absolutely.
Oh.
You can always teach people how to treat you. Because that's what it is. You're teaching them how to interact with you, not necessarily how they go about what they do. But when it comes to your interaction, you can teach them when my door is closed and this sign is up that says not available between these hours, that I'm actually not available between these hours. As a leader, that sign can't be up all the time.
Right, true.
Right? You know, but you have to be able to say, I need 2 hours in the morning to be able to get my day going, get a handle on things. That's my most productive time. I can't give that to the people that report to me. However, because you are important, this is your time after that.
Can you train your boss? Because sometimes the interrupter is the person that you report to. They just kind of plop down and, so tell me about it. And you think, oh.
You know what? I believe that comes in clear communication. Stating your needs and telling people when you're at your best, especially a boss, they'll be able to receive that message if you've articulated it well.
Okay. So what else about being productive do you want to share? Can you share?
So here's another productivity tip. And this is where we often get gone awry, and I do the same. We confuse tasks and they're actually projects.
Explain.
Sure. So a task is one thing you need to do.
Okay.
A project has several steps. Here's an example. If I had a client once who said, I need to clean up my office. I said, okay. She said, so I put that on my task list. Great. I said, it's not a task, that's a project. And she says, well, why is it a project? I said, well, tell me what you're going to do to clean your office. Well, she says, I'm just going to put things away. All right, where are you going to put them? I'm going to put them in a file cabinet. Great. How are you going to find that file cabinet? Do you have a file cabinet? No, I do not. So it's a project. She needed to identify a file cabinet that she wanted by measuring the space, determining a budget for what she was going to spend for that file cabinet, and then finding out how to procure that file cabinet. The project wasn't done when she needed to measure the space. She needs a tape measure. She didn't have one of those. She had to go buy a tape measure. So things just keep getting deeper and deeper when you're looking at projects. So what I do is I follow the advice of David Allen in his book, Getting Things Done. And he says what you do is you look at the next physical, visible thing that you need to do to move your project forward or towards completion. And when you break down a project that way, and I mean, it's just the very next action, go get a pencil. Pick up a tape measure.
Wow.
You're going to be more productive because you always know what to do next.
Wow. So we women are multitaskers. Guys are too, but we women are known for being multitaskers, handling 5 things at one time and being good at it, we think.
Yes.
I've heard that multitasking is not being productive.
Absolutely not.
Aha.
Because multitasking is a lot like time management. It really does not exist. What we're doing is we're doing one thing and then we stop and then we do the other thing. Even if it's for short spurts, we think we're doing them at the same time, but the brain physically cannot handle that. It has been proven that most people cannot drive and memorize something at the same time.
Okay, that's true.
Yes. The brain is just not designed to handle that. So when we think we're multitasking, we're really not. All right. So with all of this brilliance about productivity and time non-management, but
how do people work with you? How do people reach you? Because there's so much more.
Yes. So I have developed a program for productivity, and it's through the lens of personality type. Because and it didn't exist. Like I said, I was struggling with how can I get things done consistently? And it's because most programs were not designed for how I'm wired. So this one is designed for how each person is wired. And to get a hold of me, just go to my website. The most difficult thing about my website is the spelling of my name, which is Valari.com. And I've had that domain name since the 90s, but it's VALARI.com.
Okay. Final words of wisdom that you want to leave our viewers with.
Wow, wisdom. That puts the the pressure on. It's like, oh my gosh, this has to be so impactful. I'm gonna say this: just be honest with yourself. Give yourself some grace. Understand that this is a journey, not a destination. And as you open yourself to awareness of who you are and how you're wired, you're going to be much more successful at getting things done.
Awesome, Valerie. Thank you for being on Think About It.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope that viewers, even in this half hour, got something that'll make them more productive as opposed to busier. And so now you set your time for finishing the show and go be productive. All right. This is Think About It. I'm Silvia Henderson, your host. And as I always invite you to tune in, take what you see and hear, and, well, think about it. Think about being more productive. And I hope that you make a great day.